Hello and welcome back to the GCN Racing News Show. This week, in addition to bringing you all the news, we discuss who we think earns the award for the best rider of 2022 and go through some of the key stats of the road season just gone. Starting things off though, and before we round up all of the week's racing news, let's first dive into the question, or debate in fact, over who was the best rider of 2022. Now it is a tough question to answer, especially in light of some incredible performances by a wide variety of riders. But we'll do our best though and start things off, of course, with Annemiek van Vleuten, who surely will be at the top of anyone's list this year. In 2022, she had 40 race days, 13 wins, of which 10 were World Tour. So that's a win rate of 33% in any race she started, and a 25% win rate just taking into account those World Tour races. Pretty staggering. But get this, Van Vleuten also landed a top 3 position in 48% of them, top 5 in 60%, and top 10 in 75% of all race starts. That's if you include the GC results, by the way. How about, though, we describe it a little differently? Van Vleuten won all 3 Grand Tours, a monument, and the World Championships just 3 days after breaking her elbow, I might add. Now, if that isn't domination, I don't know what is. Moving on, though, to our next rider to potentially earn top status this year. I know it's possible to top that, basically, but check out Wout van Aert's year. He had 48 days of racing and 9 victories, all of which came in the World Tour, so a win rate of 19%. Top 3, 52% of the time, top 5, 56%, and top 10, 63% of all race starts. Now, I think what's noteworthy, though, is how banked towards the top 3 those stats are. So he was on the podium in over half of the races he started. In a year of standout performances, though, I think perhaps we should be harsh, and despite winning the green jersey at the Tour and arguably being the MVP in aiding his team to take home the yellow as well, he didn't win a monument or a World Championships. Now, whilst Van Aert's podium stats are pretty awesome, Lorena Wiebes' win rate is absolutely next level. In 2022, she accumulated 23 wins over just 50 days of racing. So that's a win rate of 46%. And if you then discount Valenciana at the start of the season, she would have won a stage of every stage race she started. Plus, I think that win rate is made even more impressive by the fact that her first win of the season came on the 9th of March and her last on the 4th of October. Staying that consistent over that time frame is mighty impressive. Tadej Pogačar, meanwhile, is the first rider since Mark Cavendish to have taken the most pro wins of any male professional for 2 years in succession, last year and this year. In winning 12 World Tour level races this year, he holds the record for the most number of World Tour wins as well, since the World Tour began, in fact. Peter Sagan won 11 in 2016, as did Roglic in 2019 and 2021, and Sam Bennett in 2019 as well. You might, though, be forgiven for overlooking Pogačar because, of course, he lost out at the Tour, but his win rate has been ferocious and top level all year. UAE Tour, Strada Bianca, Tirreno, Slovenia, Montreal, Varesini and Lombardia. Plus near misses at San Remo and Flanders. Of course, second at the Tour though, so does missing out on the big one deny Pogačar the top spot in our 2022 male winners list? You could flip that on his head though, in the case of this year's men's Tour winner, Jonas Vingegaard. He only had 7 wins from 54 days of racing, so a much smaller win rate than some of the other riders already mentioned, but he won the big one, timing his form to perfection for 3 weeks in France. So how much more is that worth? Arguably, I'd say not as much, particularly given from the perspective of cycling fans as we are. We kind of want to see our stars racing week in, week out. But I know many people will feel the opposite, and particularly given that the way he went for that Tour provided the most exciting racing we've seen in a while. So he certainly has to take some serious plaudits for that. And then, of course, we shall move on to Remco Evenepoel, who got both quality and quantity. 15 wins from 64 days of racing, 7 of which were World Tour or World Champs. He got a monument, a Grand Tour, the Belgian National Champs, and a World Championships. in a single season. That doesn't happen very often. In fact, he's the first rider since Bernardino all the way back in 1980 to have won a Monument, a Grand Tour and a World Champs in the same calendar year. Remco made the leap in 2022, going from insane talent to boss mode, and his run of form from that win at the Nationals through to the Worlds was absolutely staggering. And perhaps we should also give some shout-outs for riders who won't make it into the conversation concerning Rider of the Year, but who nevertheless achieved something special in 2022. What about the rider who racked up the most race days over the year? The winner of that particular classification was the irrepressible Thomas de Gendt with 97 race days, while Annemiek van Vleuten, as I've already mentioned, won the Giro, Tour and Vuelta. Kudos too to the trio of Juliette Labou, Elisa Longo-Borghini and Cecily Uttrup-Ludwig, who all managed to finish in the top 10 of all 3 of those races, so no mean feat. All 5 men's Monument Classics were won by riders under the age of 30. Matej Mohoric, Mathieu van der Poel, Dylan van Baarle and of course Remco and Pogačar. It's the first time that's happened since 2009, and although it also occurred in 2008, the time before that was way back in 1988, so quite a rare thing. And one of those riders was also the only rider to ride all 5 monuments this year, and that was Matej Mohoric. The last rider to do that was Philippe Gilbert in 2019, a year in which he also won a monument. Rigoberto Urán was the one rider who added his name to the list of riders with a stage win in all 3 Grand Tours during their career when he took stage 17 of the Vuelta. He obviously has been feeling pretty good about that achievement because he's now decided to postpone his retirement and he will be at EF Education Easy Post for at least another 2 years. And a rather unwanted record for 2022 is the rider with the most podiums but no wins. And that was Kevin Vacquelin of Arkea Samsic, who finished 2nd or 3rd, an agonising 10 times this year, but never tasted victory. So an unwanted record, but still, he's just 21 years old, so perhaps at the same time, it's also a sign of some very good things to come for the young French rider. Let us know in the comments section down below, though, who you think is the rider of 2022, and if you think we missed anyone that deserves a mention. I'm sure there'll be plenty of debate either way. We've certainly had a cracking year of racing on the road. 2023 can't come soon enough. Although, what is coming up on GCN Plus? There is, of course, still racing to be had, and we've got plenty for you on GCN Plus this coming week. We've got a big weekend of cyclo-cross, the Super Prestige in Ruddervoorde on Saturday, available worldwide excluding Belgium. We've also got the 4th round of the UCI World Cup on Sunday. That's available in Europe, excluding Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Italy, Belgium and the Netherlands. Now, for those of you who like your swimming and your running with your cycling, the next round of the Triathlon Super League will be available to watch on Saturday. There is still road racing to watch if you're already worrying about the bleak winter months ahead, though. We've got the Singapore Criterium by Le Tour de France on Sunday, and that's available to watch in Europe, the US and Asia Pacific, excluding China, Japan and, apologies once again, New Zealand. Now then, whilst we're talking about cool things coming up on GCN, don't forget that we've also got our new book out in the GCN shop. So the Complete Guide to Cycling Psychology provides insight from Dr. Jim Taylor, who's an internationally recognised authority on the psychology of cycling performance, and Mark Beaumont, who many of you regular viewers of the channel will know has completed a whole host of incredible endurance challenges. So if you want to understand more about how to use your mind to improve your riding, it is a very interesting and worthwhile read. Now, cyclo-cross. The weekend provided some cracking cross racing in Tabor as the UCI World Cup returned to Europe for the 3rd round. Belgian rider Elie Iserbyt continued his winning ways, taking his 3rd consecutive win after victory in Fayetteville and Waterloo during the 2 opening rounds of the series in the US. He beat Lars van der Haar into 2nd, with Michael van Toornout rounding out the podium. Fem van Empel won the women's race in Tabor, also completing a perfect streak of victories in those first 3 rounds of the UCI World Cup. The Powell Sources bingo rider withstood solid attacks by Anne-Marie Verst and Puck Peterse in the closing stages before managing to put her own final dig in to go clear, solo and take the win. Peterse would take 2nd and Verst 3rd. A clean sweep for the Dutch on the podium again then. In injury news, Lucinda Brand, meanwhile, did not take the start on Sunday. She fractured her hand whilst wrecking the course in Tabor and has since undergone surgery. It's going to mean she will miss the next phase of the season, including the European Championships in Namur. Now, in other racing, the Tour of Langkawi concluded last Tuesday with Ivan Sosa holding on to his overall lead to win the last major stage race of 2022. The Movistar rider held a lead of 23 seconds over EF Education Easy Post Hugh Carthy, with the stage win on Langkawi's Genting Highlands proving decisive. Torsten Train of Uno X secured the final podium spot. The Norwegian recovered from testicular cancer earlier this season, so it is fantastic to see him ending his campaign on a very positive note. Alex Molinar of Burgos BH took the final stage, beating previous e-racing world champion Jason Osborne of Alpecin de Koning to the line. In fact, Alpecin de Koning had a brilliant race with three of their riders, Tamino, Marechko and Bax, all taking stage wins. In the Paracycling Track World Championships, it was an all-time best medal haul for Team GB. They claimed 20 golds across the 4 days, including 3 golds and a silver for Finn Graham, who took out the C3 Scratch, the individual pursuit and the Omnium. In the C1, Ricardo 10 also grabbed 3 world titles, the Scratch, Omnium and the 3K time trial. Sarah Story claimed an incredible 19th track world title by successfully defending her C5 individual pursuit crown. France's Alexandre Leute gave the home crowd plenty to cheer about with world titles in the C2 1 km time trial, the individual pursuit, as well as the Scratch race and the overall Omnium title on the final day. In other news, 42-time Giro d'Italia stage winner Mario Cipollini has been given a 3-year prison sentence in an Italian jail for abusing his ex-wife Sabrina Landucci and her new partner Silvio Giusti by the court of Lucca on Monday. In court, it was revealed that Cipollini had performed a series of acts damaging the physical and mental integrity of Landucci, involving punches, slaps, kicks, injuries and even death threats, and was described as extremely violent, extremely threatening and an extremely abusive man during the court hearing. Finally though, a nice story from the Women's Afghanistan National Championships, which this year took place in Aigle, Switzerland. The UCI stepped forward to help evacuate a number of Afghan cyclists during the ongoing political struggles in their home country and offer them a safe place to compete. Fariba Hashimi took the win, while her sister Yulduz Hashimi claimed the silver in a 2-up sprint. They've both been riding for Valcar Travel and Service this year and have now been offered contracts with Roland Premier Tech in 2023. Ireland has put down a bid to host the 2026 or 2027 Tour de France as part of a cross-border proposal from governments north and south. Ireland has hosted Grand Tours on 2 occasions. The 1998 Tour started in Dublin, finishing in Cork, and the Giro in 2014 featured a cross-border stage from Armagh to Dublin. This latest bid appears to see a similar proposal of a stage in both Northern Ireland and the Republic. Now, Pauline Ferrand-Prévot has announced that she will target the UCI Cyclo-cross World Champs in 2023, looking to take her 5th world title in the space of 7 months. She last won it in 2015 in Tabor and will next year have the resources of Ineos behind her. Ahead of that, she's due to start in the Koppenberg Cross in Oudenaarde on the 1st of November and at the European Championships in Namur a few days after that. Both races we will have live for you on GCN+. This weekend also saw the Big Sugar gravel race in the US with a 104-mile route in the rolling hills of the Ozark Mountains. Russell Finsterval took victory with a margin of 25 seconds over Keegan Swenson and 31 seconds to Adam Roberge. The race was the last one in the Lifetime Grand Prix series and the win moved Finsterval up to 3rd in the overall classification. Swenson officially won that series overall after winning 4 of the 6 events, which began back in April, holding on to a big margin over runner-up Alexei Vermeulen. In the women's race, Paige Onwella took a massive win and arguably the biggest of her career, beating runner-up Emily Newsom by 6 minutes and 39 seconds and Alexis Skada to 3rd by 12 minutes 38 seconds. Canadian Hayley Smith and series leader finished back in 13th position and in doing so secured overall victory in that Lifetime Grand Prix series and a big fat paycheck as well. On to all the latest transfer news and rumours now, starting with Canyon SRAM Racing, who've announced that Ricarda Bauernfeind and Antonia Niedermeyer will join the World Tour team from 2023. Niedermeyer only started racing her bike a little over a year ago and has a background in ski mountaineering. This year, the 19-year-old was the German national mountaineering champion. David Decker is now confirmed as moving to Arkea's Samsic, probably a good decision given the emergence of Olaf Koy as Jumbo's best sprinter. Christian Rodriguez is also making the switch to Arkea's Samsic from Team Total Direct Energy. Soyad Bax has gone across from Alpecin de Koenig to UAE meanwhile. Movistar have announced a number of signings. The big one is Fernando Gaviria coming across on a one-year deal after 4 seasons with UAE Team Emirates. Movistar have also signed Ruben Guerrero, who breaks his contract with EF to join the Spanish squad. Plus, they've signed Ivan Romeo too. In a reversal of that contract breakage by Guerrero, Mikel Honore has also been released from his contract with Quick-Step and is heading to EF. Michael Volgren will also ride for EF's development team at the start of 2023 as he continues his comeback from the injuries sustained at the Route d'Occitanie in June. 38-year-old Luis Leon Sanchez's time with Bahrain Victorious has also come to an end. After 1 year with the team, he's heading back to Astana for 2023. Team DSM have also confirmed the signings of 22-year-olds Matthew Dinham and Sean Flynn on multi-year deals, as well as Alex Edmondson, who makes the move over from Team Bike Exchange. Lorena Vibes' lead-out trainer SD Works has been bolstered by the signing of Italian Barbara Garisci. So the squad now have the likes of Cecchini, Majerus, Uniken and Garisci making up an uber-strong sprint squad for the Dutch team. And that brings you up to date for this week. Don't forget those awesome cyclocross races at the weekend. Dan will see you back here in the chair next Monday.